Yo, yo, yo.
What's happening? What's happening?
What's going on, man? Welcome.
we all here.
We all here for the most part. Depends on the way.
Why you muted? I said you muted.
Okay.
Yeah,
There it is.
Loud and clear now?
loud and clear. What's up, man?
My man.
We was I guess we waiting on Candace.
Hey,
Okay.
There she go.
me, there she comes.
Look at that. Not too bad.
Only a minute late.
Only a minute late. What's going on, everybody? Marshall, go ahead and take us in.
What's going on, people? Welcome to the Enchiridion Team podcast. I'm Walt Mars. That's yours. We got the lovely It's Candace P in the house. And who else do we have with us today? Brandon, who that?
Hey, listen, man, we got the Bishop Guns on it with us today, man. Listen,
Okay.
we are excited about tonight. We have a good episode. It's chapter 21. Listen, if you haven't already done this, make sure you like and follow this on Facebook, like and follow us on YouTube, on SoundCloud, as we continue to be the counterculture. As we continue to, we're not going to talk about without remorse, right? But we'll talk about forgiveness, you know what I'm saying? Love and responsibility and all the things that really matter. You know, it's the objective of this podcast to talk about things that are timeless, that are making the things that are easily perishable, everlasting. And we have a good show tonight. You know, I'm excited. We got Wes with us right here, Bishop G. Let me tell y'all something about him.
Bishop
when I first met him, I think it was the best introduction into religion, particularly Christianity, because it was a very intimate space, right? It was a very intimate thing, We had a friend of ours, his mom, his dad, they would allow us to come into his house and read from the Bible, read different scriptures and have a good meal, And I just talked about Bible things, but we talked about life, and I thought that was a great introduction into any type of religious study because of the intimacy of it, right? And a couple weeks ago, or a week or so ago, Wes brought up a topic that I thought really touched home with the whole theme of us doing that Bible study, was not to let everybody in your house.
Absolutely.
Right? Protecting your energy and protecting your space. Wes, Bishop Guns, if you could elaborate more on that today for our listeners tonight, we greatly appreciate it.
Okay. First of all, man, I just want to express my appreciation. I'm glad to be a part of your podcast this evening. I'm humbled. I'm excited. You know what I mean? A little bit.
You're not shy, right?
I told Brandon, I said, man, I do my videos and stuff like that, but the live thing, I'm new to that piece. So just bear with me a little bit. You know what I mean? But I just think it's important just to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that it takes a certain level of courage to do so, because sometimes you must do so at the risk of being the bad guy, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You may have to be labeled as the bridezilla. You may have to be labeled as the one who's holier than thou. The goody two shoe, or whatever you may call it, based on that particular circumstance. You know what I mean? But what I was speaking of in that video is something that is not unfamiliar to us.
Yeah.
Because we have to kind of control access that people have to us. That's why many of us, if you were to pass me a cell phone right now, you probably have a lock on there.
Right.
We have locks on our vehicles, locks on our homes. And even those of us who are invited into the home space, not everybody can just go into your fridge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people have to kind of be vetted. So I believe that person should be given, you know, sort of a clean slate. When I first meet you, hey, I don't know what's happening. You know what I mean? But so I don't trust you. It's kind of like your credit report. You know what I mean?
Right.
I found out when I went to get my first apartment, I couldn't get it because I had no credit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So people are sort of the same way. And I think that in our culture, we have to find balance because we're so quick to throw people away. I remember at one point, man, every New Year it was a thing. Man, I'm cutting folks off.
Right.
Why do you gotta wait till December 31st to cut these people off?
Yeah.
If they're not good for you on Christmas Day, you know, what are you waiting for, right? So we got to find the value in people. We're not quick to cut folks off, you know, but we just have to compartmentalize.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. So we don't discard, but we just kind of control the atmosphere, if that makes sense.
You know, I think you brought up a good point about the value, right? Do you think that we let people into our space who don't necessarily need to be in our space because of like our inability to put value on ourselves? Do we not know the value of ourselves? Is that why we kind of let people into our space? Is that a thing?
Oftentimes that is the case, particularly like in romantic relationships. A lot of times, you know, we put up with a lot of garbage because we don't value ourselves. You know what I mean?
And you know what? I like that aspect that you were talking about, because from your video, I can relate to it so much. Last week on the topic, I was like biting my tongue not to say what you had said in the video because I didn't want to be redundant. But I think as a woman and growing up, a single, my mom raised me and my brother and sisters. So growing up from a single family home and not really having that father figure, you know, I think a lot of times, although I didn't make huge mistakes, but in certain relationships, I did take too much or let certain people in because of not having that confidence or having that mindset of valuing myself and letting people into my space. And it doesn't have to always be sexually or, you know, it's just that intimate space that you allow people in. And I've made a lot of mistakes of wanting that friendship or wanting that father figure, so to speak, and going through those emotions when I should have just found it within myself first, you know, and protected my space. Now I don't have a problem with, you know, protecting my space. And at times when I have the notion of wanting friendship outside of the people that I know or wanting to expand, I have to really think about it and really process it because you don't know who you're letting in. You know, so that's just one of the points that I took from it.
I feel like, you know, as humans, we all want human interaction. I think it's something that we need, and typically, you know, we all get hungry, right? But everything that's necessarily available to satisfy that hunger isn't good for us. And I think that, you know, when it comes down to particularly letting different friends in or letting different influences into our lives, you know, some of us are quick to grab whoever wants to come, you know, whoever wants to ride, you know, the bus, because, you know, again, it's a lack of knowing the value that you have in yourself, you know, and having
the fear of loneliness.
And the fear of loneliness as well. People don't, you know, it's a lot easier to say when you're trying to accomplish a goal and accomplish a vision that, hey, you gotta get the right people off the bus, you gotta get the right people onto the bus and everything like that. But what do you tell people when, you know, they've been riding on this bus stop or this bus route for like hours, days at a time, and nobody's getting on the bus, you know, and you don't have much of a bus company then, you know, it gets lonely then. And I think that it's a lot harder to accomplish than what we than we probably may initially like perceive.
Right.
That's what I believe.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, you know, a lot of people have they have trouble understanding that everybody don't have to come along with you. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And everybody don't have to come along with you. Everybody don't have to accept things that you're doing. And it's okay to let go, you know what I mean, and clear house. And you don't have to wait till the 31st, like you said. First to clear house, because everybody don't deserve your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that hold on one second, my daughter just came in. Sorry about that. That once people realize their worth and realize that, you know what I'm saying, I have to protect myself, my peace, my sanity, you know what I mean, they won't be so quick to accept this person. Oh, come on in my house. Oh, come on in my, go ahead, go get yourself something to drink out the fridge. Oh, I don't know where you've been. I don't know I don't know what toxicity that you have going on in your mind to allow you to come all the way into me. And people just need to start thinking about that more.
And I think, and again, I just want to kind of drive home that the notion of the idea that we're not discarding people. Mm-hmm. Although there are some individuals, when you really evaluate it, man, there's just no value. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just none. We got to get as far away as possible. But for others, again, we just kind of compartmentalize. Because I've learned sort of through trial and error and just kind of coming around folks, that there are some friends that, man, we have a good time when we're together. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's good to hang out. But if I loan you money, it might be a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What good is it to have a friend who can give you sound advice, but your business will be in the street?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you know these different characteristics about the people, then you can kind of identify and say, you know what, you're good for this, but maybe you're not good for that.
Yeah. Right.
So we don't throw you away, but now I know how far to take it with you.
Right. And I think I try to, for like my younger sister, like I try to put that in her mind so early on, and along with protecting your space is seeing people for who they are. Like for me, when I come around, if it's a new environment for me, I'll sit back, I watch interactions, I watch how, you know, people look at each other when they walk away, or what's said after someone leaves or behind that person back. And I tell her, take people for who you are when you see them. And it goes hand in hand for me. I don't need to learn my lesson on my own. I can learn my lesson from someone else, and just that in that simple interaction. So I think it's so important to know that as well. When somebody show you who they are, take that and believe it. And then, like you said, it doesn't have to be you discard that person, because a lot of those people we talk about could be family members, could be your own parent. And it's just loving them at a distance and not being nasty to them, and not, you know, trying to get back at them, or if they crossed you, you just leave them where they are, still loving them, still, you know, being positive towards them, you know, or in your case, preaching to them, or, you know, it's just, you don't have to have that personal relationship, that one-on-one to love that person, even if it's an enemy. For me anyway, I can only speak for myself. Even if it's an enemy. Yeah, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, you know, it reminds me of this one story where I went to this party and I didn't know anybody there. I might have had one friend who I believe was a friend, but we all went to the party, right? Mm-hmm. As we at the party, you know, dancing and having a good time, a fight breaks out. As soon as the fight breaks out, you know, that phenomenon, you get circled by the fight. And we looking around and like, you know, what's happening? Is my friends happening fighting or not? And I look into the circle, and some guys who necessarily weren't my friends, right? But were close enough to expect me to fight, right? We're looking at me as they like are beating this person up, and they looking at me like, "But you ain't about to fight. You ain't about to fight with us, right? We gonna fight you next, right? If you don't fight with us." And you know, it just brings to mind, like how Candace said, we don't necessarily have to be mean or discard you, but you got to know what people are about, what people do, and whether or not that's going to be a good for your own sanctuary and your own peace. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. You know, so and so, Jarcavius, I don't know, right? you know, he a fighter. You know what I mean? Or you know, everybody know that he a fighter, and you don't want to fight when you go out with him. You know that's the company that you was keeping anyway. You know, or somebody may come over to your house, and you know that they don't keep up their house. So you know they ain't gonna care nothing about, you know, dropping no buffalo chicken tender on your carpet.
He bringing up personal stuff.
Sound like some passion behind it.
He don't know. He don't apartment, right? So I know he don't care about my stuff.
Absolutely. And you know, I think when we don't consider, like I said, protecting your space, and then also watching your surroundings and those interactions, we bring so much onto ourselves that's not even ours. You know, and for me, I have to, because I feel other people like emotions and stuff like that. Some people call it empathic. I just say I'm just super sensitive to what other people are experiencing emotionally. So I have to really protect what I hear. It's like, you know, being a girlfriend who's like, oh, tell me all about it. I have to protect that, because if I'm bringing that into me, and a lot of times if this person is angry or they at 10, by the time I get off the phone or finish texting, I look at Brandon and I'm like, what you want? Like I'm bringing it to him, you know, and that's not even the atmosphere that it requires. So we bring so much into our life, and then we don't realize all the elements that are involved, you know. So I just think it's so important to protect it, and it all goes hand in hand for me once again. So if Marshall, you got another point, or Bishop, you have anything you want to say else with that?
I want to go back to something you said earlier, just in terms of you know, meeting people where they are. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, in the video I went with the idea of, you know, keeping people on the porch. Mm-hmm. But there was another thought in my mind that I didn't speak of. There's an old movie, if you haven't seen it, called Jackie Brown. Mm-hmm. Really good movie, right? But there's a particular scene in there where Sam Jackson and Robert De Niro are talking, and I think Robert De Niro's character is Lewis, and Lewis is saying, man, why do you keep this young lady around you when you know you can't trust her? Like, I don't really understand it. And he said, I don't have to trust Melanie. I know Melanie. Meaning, like, I know what she will and will not do. So the fact that she's trying to play you against me, that's not surprising to me, because I know who she is.
Right.
So when we are educated about who a person is internally and what they are capable of doing, then we kind of know, again.
You already had that expectation.
Right.
You understand?
That's incredible. And we're just going to put a pause on that, and we're just going to go on into our ad for the week. This is going to be brought to you from my very own sister. She has a very good cosmetic line called Exo Pasio. Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Hey ladies, are you looking for the perfect lip gloss to make the champagne sippers, soup coolers, cool guy kissers, bubblegum poppers stand out? Look no further than the elegant products at Exo Pasio. Try the Posh with its light orange dreamsicle tones and gold glitter accents that make it perfect for your perfect lip gloss for those nude shades. Or try Snob with its pretty light powder pink finish, made for the snobbiest XO babes. All products are handmade, vegan, and cruelty-free. Order yours today at xopasio.com. That's X-O-P, I'm sorry, I'm going to say that again. That's XOPAIXAO.com. Exopasio. That's Portuguese for passion. And so I did like, why y'all look confused?
We just looking at, we just waiting on here.
I think he wanted to try some of the products.
He did, you know.
Yeah, he's like, where is it at?
So I was actually,
What'd you say?
I was trying to pull up the website as you was doing it, as you was
yeah.
Good. Go ahead and shop there. But I just think it's just so much to go into when you think about you know, like you said, meeting people where they are. And I think the beautiful thing is that sometimes you can be surprised. You know, it doesn't always have to be that negative tone where it's just like, oh, I can already expect you going to shortchange me if I give you my $5 and take it to the store. You know, sometimes people really come to their own realization of wanting to change and wanting to be better, and having that. Once you have the education of where you stand, where meeting people where they are, I would hope to be this way or portray, you know, come off that way, to allow people that space to make those changes. And I think it's important to have that space open because we're not perfect. Nobody is. And we have to allow those mistakes and allow those people to grow, to do better.
I agree. I think that, you know, obviously you got to have some type of discernment to know who you're dealing with and who you're not dealing with. I think TD Jakes brought up a point one time where he was talking about your comrades, your confidants, you know, and I don't know, and a casual person, right? Mm-hmm. I think that the whole point of the analogy that he was bringing up is that people got different levels to them, mm-hmm. you know, and it's up to you to have that discerning heart, that discerning spirit to know, as Wes brought up earlier, where and when to place people. You know, it's a chess match. You know, and just because one person isn't good for a particular position at one point in time doesn't mean that later on they won't be ready for that position then. You know, it's just, you know, you gotta have, especially when it's your goal on the line or when it's your success on the line, you gotta have that discerning heart and rather to know whether this person is ready or not, especially when it's your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I think of? I think of a businessman, right? I think of a businessman eating out at a restaurant and he gets a good waiter. All right. Mm-hmm. Now that waiter is doing all the right things. He's talking nice, you know what I'm saying? He's on top of his stuff. I think it's that with that businessman seeing him to make him say, "You like your job?" You know, you see it in the movies and stuff like that. Like, you like your job? Now, mind you, that businessman and waiter probably don't have nothing, you know what I mean? Nothing in common, really. But what he's seeing him, that he can be some use to what he is trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He can be some to whatever he is trying to do. And I may not use you directly, but guess what? You're going to be good for this. Let me go ahead and put you in this category right here. I need you right here. You know what I'm saying? Like dealing with them direct. You know what I mean? I think people need to choose their people that they're around like that. You know what I mean? And choose why. You know what I mean?
That reminds me of Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Okay, explain.
Right? Because she was
around you.
Because she was a hoe like any other hoe was a hoe. You feel me?
Right? You better break this down. You better break it down.
Right? Right? She was. But Richard Gere, he saw something in her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That made him want to get with her.
Yep.
Now was she sure?
Value.
He saw her value. Now was she sure that she wanted to take that route before he really, pull it out?
She ain't know.
All right. Mute his mic.
No, when you discerning people, here's the thing that I think will help some of our listeners out. When you using discernment, I think one of the tips that you can take is clear your space. Right? A lot of times it's hard to tell what friends should go where and what should go where, because you might have too much in one particular space, and it may be overwhelming for you to decide who should be in what spot, because you got too many people in your space in the first place. You got any thoughts on that, Wes?
Yeah, that I think that's very true. Like, if we were all at your house for dinner, and Candace's jewelry comes up missing, then we don't know who took it.
Right.
Now you're looking at everybody, so you gotta, to your point about more people in your space. Right. Now you gotta really take some time to break this down to figure out what happened.
Right.
Now you would assume that it's the newest person.
Right.
But the more people, I feel like that clouded area, you don't know what the problem is. It's easier when you got one of those toddler toys that got the circle peg and the triangle and the square peg, right? And you got those three pieces. It's easy to tell what piece goes to what piece position, because it's less options. But if you got 26,000 followers and friends and things like that, you're not gonna be able to tell what's the problem area and what's not the problem area. Right. A part of discernment is actually just being a good manager of what you have.
Right.
Which is your time.
I have been in circumstances in my life where I'm looking at a host of people and I'm like, man, I'm not sure about any of you.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So I think it's best to kind of pull away from everyone. And then we can kind of sort some things out from that point.
Yeah.
I think, like, I don't know, because a lot of this, like, in my mind, a lot of those circumstances can drain you. Like, when you're trying to figure out who's this, who's that, what to do with this person, what to do with that person. And I'm not saying seclude yourself, but all I can think of at the time is, like, all I can do is worry about me, and I can only control my actions, or I can only control or make my own decisions in these situations. So a part of that I definitely get. But a lot of this is, like, you have to, like you say, use your own discernment. Your own discernment is your own judgment, So you got to really use your judgment in all different types of situations. I think for the most part of growing up into Baltimore and it's certain gas stations I'm not going to stop at.
100%.
It's right. It's certain neighborhoods that I'm not going to go to, although I'm good in any hood because I'm just me, but
any MLK Boulevard.
Any MLK Boulevard, I'm going to be good because I know how to maneuver. I know how to protect myself, and I know how to not get into trouble. But you just got to use your judgment. And I think so many young people, even older folks, just because you have a certain age doesn't mean that you are at the peak of making the best decisions. But you just have to make the best decision for yourself at the time, whether or not if it's going to lead you the wrong way or not. and don't let nobody sway your decision. So many times where I've made a bad decision, my gut told me, no, don't do it. You got to listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, because every time I've gone against that, I've always was put in a position where I compromised myself.
And I think that's kind of the pull, because certain circumstances make it a little more difficult for you to make these decisions. And I think even to your point earlier, like, you know, some folks might be family. Like if you find out that it was Wes who stole your jewelry, it's easy for you to say, you know what, Wes never coming over here again. Right. But if it was your brother, your cousin, your mom, your favorite
still gonna
auntie,
do the same thing. They're not coming back over.
Right. And that's the whole hit. So if Wes is no good for you and you need to separate yourself from Wes, why is your favorite auntie any different just because she's your blood?
Right.
But you have a different emotional pull on you because of your history, the connection you have, because that's your favorite auntie. So, you know, when you go to Granny's house for dinner, your auntie's over there.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So on some level, you still have interactions with these individuals. And it could be challenging. And so we don't want to bring a negative spirit in Granny's house.
Right.
But maybe I'm just over here with it. You know?
I mean, you know, it's I think that a lot of things sound easy in discussion, you know, that are actually that are harder in application, right? Because that's why you have so many toxic relationships, you know, as far as for, you know, in domestic violence and everything going on, because, you know, if it was that easy to say, let me pull away, or, you know, I'm done with this situation, then I think everybody would do it. But I think that it's not really that simple, and everybody doesn't have so much of a discerning heart as you would think.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cam. Go
ahead. Say your little say, Marshall. No, but I really think, let me put my hand down because I was acknowledged. I really think, especially when it comes down to family, like, oh my goodness, so many, I'm not going to give no personal examples, but I will say, because, you know, I'm not going to put nobody out there like that, but they know who they are. I think family, for me anyway, my family is my soft spot. So I'm going to give them the most tries, you know. All right, I'm going to take that lick right there. Okay, all right, you got me. You know, but it comes to a point where if you only got so many times with me before, you know, it's no, you can't call me for this, and I'm not doing that. I'll say hi, I'll be cordial. I'm going to love and pray for you in my own time, in my own space. But that personal relationship, but I'll explain it to people. I don't just let people go in limbo, you know, and I think not everybody deserves that explanation, but I'm just the type of person, I want you to understand, I want you to know where I am with this and why. It's because there's no fakeness with me. It is what it is, and I'm going to keep it moving, just like I expect for everybody else to do. But I just explain, I take the time to explain to people because I really want you to understand that there's no gray area. This is what it is, and this is what I say it for it to be, for me, you know.
So it's it's hard for me to speak on this, all right? Because for me and myself, I don't burn bridges that don't need to be burned. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard for me to tell somebody no. So when we're talking about people wanting to be around, I believe when people are gravitating towards me, I don't want to put them off or push them away or I don't want to, even though I know I should, and you guys are absolutely right. I know I should be like, hey, you are for this and this only, and you are for this. because I feel like maybe they're coming to me, and I always feel like this, and I'm always the one that get burned, but I feel like maybe they're coming to me this time because they want me to show them a different way, or they want me to be, you know what I mean, be
you had a hero complex. I said you had a hero complex.
And it burns me, especially being in the rink, or it burns me more often than not. You know what I'm saying? It's just very hard for me to do that. It's very hard for me to say that you are only going to be used for this. You know, I don't know, man.
But watch the language that you're using though. Like, if you say no to an individual, why is that burning a bridge?
Right. Yeah.
Burning the bridge is like permanence.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I think it's important. Like the scripture says, you know, we should guard our hearts because flow the issues of life. So for me, I don't believe in, you know, you've heard the terminology, you know, you got a wall around your heart. Right? It's hard for me to love you because every time I take a brick down, it's like you put more bricks
going
there.
Back up. Yep.
So we shouldn't have a wall around our heart, but we should have a gate.
Come on, right? Yeah, okay.
So
is it a lock?
Like when you go into work, when I go into work, there's a security guard there. Let me see your badge, bro. Yeah. I don't care that I saw you the last 20 days, the last 2 years. You know what I mean? I don't. And some people are a little different. I don't want to ramble too much, but you know, they give people a hard time. I'm not giving you a hard time. Here's my badge right here. You know what I mean? Because it's important to have things in place to kind of check the temperature. We got to see what's going on here. You know what I mean? So you got to have stuff in place where you can say, you know what? Maybe I'll give you another shot. And here's an important thing too. Like, know what you're risking and be okay with that. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, there are some friendships we can hang out, but if I lend you money, that's the end of the friendship. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case either. Because if I'm okay with you never giving me this $1,000 back or $20 or whatever it is, then I'm not in the way.
Right.
I'm not upset that you didn't have it to give back. And so we can kind of continue that relationship. So that's why one of those principles I have in place, I don't lend what I can't give.
Yeah.
Because that's a safeguard that I have there. And so I think it's important, depending on the circumstance, you know, just to have different safeguards.
Yeah, and like those safeguards are boundaries. You know, those are the boundaries that you're setting for yourself to protect yourself. My boundaries, your boundaries, they're all going to be different. But it's important to be aware of those boundaries. For me, my boundary, like last week we were talking about being so gung-ho for respect. That used to be my boundary, like, oh no, you're gonna respect me. However, it has changed now. I don't need it. I don't live without, that doesn't make me thrive, and I don't demand it. But my boundary is when you come into my home, when you're around my child, and even my dogs. You disrespect my dogs, it's time to go. And it could be something as little, because this is their space, you know? Right. So it's just knowing those boundaries and knowing when not letting people cross it. And Brandon, I'm gonna mess up that saying that you say about money, but what's that saying that you say about money?
What I say?
What did I say? What I say?
Don't let the money.
No, you say you say. No. No, it's along the lines of what Bishop's saying. Like, you know, when you're letting somebody borrow something, you basically you give it as if you're not expecting it back. I think your dad actually came up with that saying. But and it doesn't have to go with money. If I'm giving my energy, my time to you, I don't expect you to do nothing bad. Like, you know, if I'm picking you up, like an example that I've had a few coworkers, I used to take them home because I just wanted to spend more time with them, and we enjoyed our time. And I never expected them to give me money, or wasn't ever said like, in order for me to take you home, you have to give me gas money. I did it because we had enjoyed being around each other. While we were at work, we couldn't really spend that much time together. And I just wanted to help them out instead of having them ride the bus and take almost 2 hours getting home, when it was only just maybe a 15-20 minute ride out my way, because it was convenient it was more convenient for me to do that for them. So, and I didn't expect those things. And just like if you give something to somebody, sure, you would like for your stuff to come back, but you can't control once it leaves your hand, once your energy goes, once your time goes, you can't get that back.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that, but I'm all for reciprocity. I don't need it to be, if I give you $5, then I'm expecting $5 back from you. That don't have to necessarily be the case, right? But when I am in need of something, I do expect, you to do something in return. Like I don't need you to match exactly what I do. I don't need but you will, if I have a friendship or relationship totem pole and I've done stuff for you, and when it comes time for you to do stuff for me, you know where to be found. It's not, it ain't F you, you know what I mean? I'm not on that type of time, but I'm gonna push you back on that pole because you're not gonna be the person to talk to. If I had you at a number 2 or number 3, I mean, it may be unfair, but you need people that's on your team that's reliable. You need reliable and dependable people. You know what I'm saying? I can't go off the fact because you're my brother, you're my wife, you're my friend, because I feel as though I put a particular value on this relationship, and then you don't come through. I gotta practice my own type of reflection to say, well, next time when this new devils come up, because there's always new devils. Every time this new enemy comes up, you might not be the person that I might not need with that warhammer, because last time you didn't pick it up.
Right. Exactly.
You know what though? I think Candace used a very important word: communication.
Woo.
So
we need to have you on the show more often because you you're good.
That is wow. That's
but that comes from a place of maturity. I believe, because there's been times in my life where I'm just like, okay, you know what? Bye. You know what I mean? No explanation. But there are a lot of different things that happen when you begin to communicate your feelings, your thoughts, your needs, your expectations.
Yeah.
You give people an opportunity to make things right.
Yeah.
And because there's still value.
Yeah.
I just believe in, honoring the value that's there. And maybe if there is no change to take place, at least I've communicated that as well.
That part.
What I don't want is to begin to separate myself so much that I look around and I'm on an island.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you said, we do need a support system. We need people that can hold us accountable. People that can challenge us to grow. But these have to be people that we can trust.
Yeah, and like what you said with the communication, I just think that's just the best way to go about it. So like I said before, there's no gray area. Even if you don't agree with me, even if you're like, that's not how I saw it, I don't want to do it that way, at least we're opening the floor to talk about it. Sometimes it leads to arguments, but at least we can go back and forth and say, okay, well, how can we come to a compromise? Or how can we, I didn't see it that way. Say if I hurt your feelings about something, or I said something to you that just completely brushed you off on the wrong way. Now I know. And that's how I look at it when I'm talking to anybody. Brandon is the number one who I'm like, I need to tell you how I feel. And it's overwhelming sometimes, I know. But I'm like, I have to verbalize this. I have to let you know before you come out of nowhere and just you're blindsided. I'm letting you know where I stand. And then always, by you communicating back to me, I can know where you stand and we can come to a common area. That's always my goal, coming to a common area where we can both meet, you know. And that's not just with my husband, that's with all my relationships, besides Marshall.
And you know what, I think that real communication is what takes place after you hang up the phone.
Okay.
After the conversation ends. Because if I communicated to you, hey, when you do X, Y, and Z, it makes me feel this way.
Yeah.
Or, hey, man, the reason why I haven't been around so much is because you did this and it put me in a certain position, right? When you say, you know what, hey, I'm sorry, let's make it right, or whatever you know your response is. But when we end that conversation and you continue to do the same thing, you have now communicated to me how you feel about me.
Right.
And how much respect or lack thereof,
right,
that you really have for me.
I think, as you mentioned, if I can't trust that our communication is getting some type of results, to me, it's not an FU thing again, but it's just that, like how I said, I'm not gonna come back to you. If I'm the quarterback and I know that you're supposed to be running this particular route, but I know that you're not really into, being serious about the job, and on some plays you might run a different route, and other plays you might block, and you don't really know the playbook like that. I'm gonna throw the ball to you one time, maybe because you're my teammate and maybe you open, right? But the moment you disappoint me, it's not to say that I ain't gonna never throw the ball to you again. But now I gotta reflect on how serious you are about the relationship. I gotta reflect on how serious you are about the team. You know what I'm saying? Because, like how you said, we might not be at that same level of maturity to even take our role seriously enough on the team.
Well, because it's not just the communication. You got to communicate effectively. Like, so I can tell somebody how I feel all day long, or I can tell somebody what I expect from them all day long, but you have to make sure that it's really understood. So I can't just say I want you to run a 5 and out route. Or I want you got to explain that when you get to that 5th step, I need you to drop low, you know what I mean, and cut hard, and that ball gonna be there as soon as you whip around. You know what I'm saying? You gotta explain it and make sure that they understand it, and make sure that they was listening. Because a lot of people, especially if they're already on your team, if they're already on your team, a lot of people act like they already know their role. You know what I'm saying?
They don't want to listen.
But
I was just about to say that.
If you don't show them their role, the role that they have for your team, you know what I'm saying? You can't expect them to know.
But some people don't even care.
They don't care.
You gotta use that discernment to say, is this even is this even worth talking about? Is this even worth bringing up? Because some people just don't care about it, like, no matter what. And even a lot of times when I express myself, like, that person might go on about their day like, whatever. Like, I don't care about that, which is fine. That's your choice. But, I a lot of times I have to say, what is this worth for me to say this? What is this doing to help the situation, or is it going to make it worse? And a lot of times, like I say, everybody don't have that maturity to sit up here and say, oh, well, I should have did this, or yes, next time I will think about that, or whatever. Everybody is not worth that conversation at that point in their life. Some people, they might have to keep on burning the bridges or making the wrong decisions to even understand the lesson that was there in the first place. So, sometimes it's just lost on deaf ears.
Yeah, I think that like how you just said, especially when you're dealing with pros, right? And everybody feel like they a pro in their own particular thing. In order for you to really make the team and for all these things to jive together, you got to be coachable. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's something that, you know, unfortunately, as we get older, I feel like it's kind of harder and harder to place into a person, you know, especially because they think they're grown, right? When you try to tell people a particular task and how something should be done a particular way, and they don't want to hear that because, like how you said, the guy might say, "What you think? I don't know what a 5 and out is."
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Or you don't allow this person on the team. Y'all trying to win championships. Y'all trying to work together, and he like, "What you think? I don't know what a swim move is." Yeah. And it's like, yo, I know that you know or are familiar with the words that are coming out of my mouth. You know, I know that, but are you willing to follow my direction? Are you willing to follow? Is what the real thing is. And I think that when you develop in a team, when you putting yourself around a circle of people, you got to be around people, how Wes said earlier, that are willing to honestly and openly communicate. You know, so we can get the best. We can get this locomotive on the road. You got something, Candace?
Yes. So I think the beautiful thing about this whole topic, or this podcast, in the sense, and this is all stuff that we have to constantly work on. Nobody is the pro. Nobody. So no matter what you feel like you excelled at, or as far as, let's just leave maturity or discernment and those type of things. Let's just leave it at that. You're always going to go through something that tests that, to see, you know, whether if it's you think it's God testing you or whatever, which I do. But I think what I pray for when I pray about myself and when I want to improve certain things like that, I get tested on it. And I don't always, a lot of times I fail, because I'm just going off of my own emotion and not thinking about, okay, how to process it. What should I do? Or what should I say? And then, you know, it's just always a constant thing that you're gonna have to keep working on, and nobody's gonna be perfect with it.
All right, man. You know, we've had a great discussion tonight, right? This is chapter 21, right? We was joined by my brother, right? My friend, Bishop Guns, Wes, right? Do you have any final thoughts on tonight? Anything?
Man, it was, once again, I just want to say thank you just for having me on to the podcast, man. This is what you guys are doing is great, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm hopeful that, you know, the listeners were able to gain something. And again, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I think that just to kind of reiterate some of these points that we talked about, for me, it's really about the value in people. You know, don't be too quick to discard. But when you see value in it, we can have patience and really work things out and really communicate. And don't be afraid. Again, you know, because we talked about discernment. You know, one of the things in discernment is to distinguish and discriminate. That's a tough word to say, discriminate.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes there's a reason to set yourself apart. You know what I mean? And but we don't want to be on an island alone again.
Right.
You know? So work with other individuals and take time to build that team. You know, when LeBron went to Miami, you know, I'm not a sports expert, but I said to myself, they're not going to win the chip the first year. Right?
Okay.
Because it looks good on paper.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes time for you to really gel as a team and learn each other and learn to work together. Yeah. So that's the important thing that we have to do, you know?
Yeah. Marshall, you had something you want to say?
No, I just love the way that he I love the way he wrapped it up, and I appreciate you. www.theenchiridionteam.com. You can get your shirts like my brother B. Horace have on. We have hoodies, even though it's a little hot outside.
Hey, I still rock my hoodie.
Yeah, you can rock.
I can get my Enchiridion hoodie.
I'm about to get my gym, but thank y'all for rocking out with us. Go ahead, Candace. What was that? XO what? What's that website one more time?
www.xopasio.com.
Xopasio.com. I messed that up.
Definitely check it. Definitely check it out. And thank you once again for coming and being a part of this conversation tonight.
No doubt. I appreciate all of you all and everything. Knowledge, everything is in the power of your hand. Peace.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Catch you later.